I'm Tanea Lunsford Lynx. I'm a third generation born Black San Franciscan on both sides, and I'm happy to be here in the store where I am all the time, where I've been since I was this small. And I'm happy to be here celebrating the very necessary work of Tongo. Tongo, our lives are better. All of our lives are better because you have been. Thank you. I'm going to read a kind of quilt of poems about mothers. Then I'm going to read a poem that kind of has a life of its own. And so the poems, Mothers 1 through 3, were created in the image of many mothers. And they were inspired by several articles I read about memories and fears that have been passed down or can be passed down to descendants across generations through DNA. In one of the articles, there was a particular focus on traumatic experiences that are carried from parent to child through genetic imprint for at least 2 generations. And so these poems about mothers are about mothers of all kinds, about human mothers, earth, and other, and reflect on the traumas, memories, fears, loves, and fights that we inherit over time. Mothers 1. Before I was her wheat germ, before I was a good idea, before I was placed as a spirit into each of her baby dolls, receiving her affection prematurely, with her tiny head too close to my plastic one. Before I was an ache and her grandmother's grandmother, I danced the grief dance. Before I was a sharp light cutting through the center of the core of the earth for warmth, I learned to kick my leg high enough up over my head, over the heads of all the mothers. I learned to rip down the middle, because that is how the grief dance goes. That is how you know you're doing it right. My family is known for our lopsided mothers, leaning into their mothers, on top of their mothers, on top of their mothers, all the way down to the sideways grave, to the center of the core of the earth for warmth. I have been practicing my grief dance in the mirror of my mother. The song of grief has been settled in my feet magma. They didn't have to perform an x-ray to know that it was there inside of me. They just had to know I would be born a girl. Mothers 2. My mother is a weather system. She eats villages whole. She is powerful without knowing what power is, because she can, because she does. My mother is cloudy with a chance of river mouth running over. My mother is the unsettling option. This mother's milk tastes like rain becoming air, rising off of wet pavement. This mother's milk tastes like earthquake weather. This one reminds me of my own electricity. My mother is the dam that has chosen to break. She's the lightning that strikes the middle of the ocean every night. The raw electricity of reckless. She knows what she likes and chooses to electrify it in her grip over and over again. My mother is the fog disorienting, the sideways slant of a vision of heaven. My mother is the muddled sherbet of grapefruit September sky, the last chance to catch summer on the lips of a lover who will be gone on a ship named after a mother storm born of a short life. My mother is a weather system. Sometimes she knows this, and sometimes it is a surprise even to her. Mothers 3. Life is lonely as a conduit. Everybody thinking they love you because you got answers flowing through you. Because you see them in a world where nobody's really fond of looking anyone in the eye, really. It's lonely being a river that flows in 2 directions. Everybody loves your water until they're whisked away, and it's your fault for being a river in the first place. Even when you posted signs, and even when you told them when they got too close to touching ground and the deep rushing in, you had to look at them sternly and say, "Be careful, I don't flow." Everybody got shit they want you to pull out of your chest for them. Won't you go deep inside that raspy spot behind that lung and let me know who's going to win the game tonight? Everybody sees your light and only wants to play it, only wants to use it till it's darkness, only wants to take it as an invitation, then complain about the fire going out when they didn't put no wood in the pile. Life as a myth is tired. I spend my days too big to fit indoors. Up on a high hill, listening to the tired and tried prayers of men with imprints in their knees. I'm not supposed to tell them that they wouldn't have to be kneeling all the damn time if they dare do right by anybody but themselves, but I be thinking. So would I spend my nights with my feet up, picking my teeth with their sorry offerings? I bet if you were made solely to receive the begging, you'd be hungry enough to gnaw at the praying hands of sorry men too. Living under the ground as Several severed parts can be exhausting. Some days my head can't even open my eyes. Some days my fingers twiddle and I feel something, maybe my other hand turning over soil in my palm, and my ears can almost hear the kikiing of my toes finding each other, saying softly, I think I can feel it, can you? Can you feel it? I think I can feel it, can you? I used to walk on top of the street before I was a cautionary tale. I used to wear what I wanted and hitchhike where I wanted, and I answered to them calling at me from across the streets. There was many a story told about me. Ones where I ate men whole without regard, where I smoked and drank and cussed and peed standing up and sang at the table and whistled and burped and didn't cover my mouth when I smiled and led us all to freedom. And raised hell with two small hands, and didn't have the baby and couldn't have the baby, and let my hair grow until my locks turned to snakes, and fed 1 million children by way of miracle making with no thanks. And cured 5 million people of polio and was still buried in a shallow grave. They got plenty of stories about me, but they never get my laugh right. And every few decades when they dig up a piece of me, they never bother to be curious enough to match one side of me with the other. They have plenty of stories about me, but nobody ever asked me which one was my favorite. They never let me choose, even though I end up dead in all of them. This next piece, or this last piece, is one that I wrote about San Francisco, namely parts of San Francisco where I'm from, like Lakeview, and Bayview, and Hunters Point, and Sunnydale, and Tenderloin. But I also wrote this poem about other San Franciscos. San Franciscos like Detroit, San Francisco's like Chicago, and San Francisco's like Brooklyn, and all the places in the United States where Black people are being disappeared by way of prisons and jails, disappeared to graves, disappeared to the margins far away. So I wrote this poem, it's called Red Line. Red line. If you were from here, you would know that it don't take nothing but a few red lines on a map to make a war zone. A few shoes on a wire to remember the deaths of small children. There's plenty to fight about in the food desert. Plenty of room to fight when the red lines are drawn like a boxing ring around you. Red line on a map, shoes on a wire, funeral a spectacle, food money spent on bus fare to the grocery store, bus fare spent on funeral, a spectacle, shoes on a wire, spent on spectacle, maps of red lines on map like live wire, plenty to fight about in the absence of food. To be absent with food is to be present with the liquor store. I dream about pollution and funerals as spectacle. To be absent from the body is to be present on a t-shirt. Live forever as a tattoo, live forever all weather as red lines on a map, a small child immortalized by 2 small shoes on a living wire, live forever as spectacle at a funeral, live forever as the collective sigh of another tired wire spent on bus fare, life stolen like food money turned funeral money. Shake out your pockets. Didn't you check the map before you came out here? No. This is a red line.